So, Rob Reiner, you may know him as Meathead from All in the Family, or the creator of When Harry Met Sally, but we also know him as the very individual that went into a complete meltdown, and hence, once a meathead, always a meathead. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new, and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. Now, I've said this once and I'll say it again, but a lot of these actors, filmmakers, directors, producers, actresses, whatever have you, within the film industry, they act like that they are so important and above everybody else within society to the point where they are like it's my way or the highway when it comes to their overall opinion or when it comes to their overall demands. Very self-absorbed, generally speaking. Not everybody within the Hollywood bubble, but about 90-95% of them are like that when it comes to their behavior. And Rob Reiner is another major example of just that. Now, focusing on Reiner, we know that he had a lot of problems with the 2024 outcome. We know that he had a lot of issues with how people actually had differing opinions compared to himself, and that's not a big shocker there. We've seen this among others like Mark Hamill, Robert De Niro, George Clooney, Julia Roberts. I mean, the list goes on and on. I could talk about this all day, but focusing on Reiner in isolation, this is where things begin to go out of control when it comes to a specific studio that wants nothing to do with this guy at all anymore, especially after all the negative press, after, of course, the comments that he made, and even the report of checking into a mental facility. We'll talk more about that in just a second. But what's interesting about this is that we know that Rob Reiner, alright, he's been around for decades upon decades, but it seems like he's trying to still stay relevant to this very day in 2024. Now that both the media and Hollywood are either doubling down on their agenda or in some cases beginning to back off in light of the massive backlash from their public, one significant development that is now brewing involves more to do with Rob Reiner after his political comments that went viral and backfired on his career as a filmmaker and actor. Now, one surprising twist to Rob Reiner's backlash from the general public is that it recently led to a major project getting outright canceled by Netflix, of course, who is now officially unwilling to work with him ever again. It turns out that both Rob Reiner and Netflix were ready to announce a multi-million-dollar project that in turn was going to pay Reiner around $12 million for a new documentary about his life and his career as an actor, writer, director, and producer. Now, this documentary was going to present new revelations about Reiner's personal and professional life in Hollywood and within the film industry that is now officially dead after Netflix and its CEO, along with the studio executives, decided to drop and remove Reiner by canceling this project altogether, and they are reportedly willing to never work with him again after all the negative press of not just his political comments pressing on the general public, but also the report of him checking into a mental facility based on the 2024 outcome and results. Now, Reiner reportedly got very emotional after learning this news through his agent and manager, to the point that it did indeed lead to him being very teary-eyed when he actually had a recent remote meeting with the Netflix CEO and its executives. Now, this project by Rob Reiner, get this, and Netflix, was planned to be a love letter to his career and to his fans that grew up with his films, that are now no longer essentially fans at this point, and have either walked away from his work or are either boycotting his past and current work. Now, Reiner is already said to be begging the Netflix team that he was working with that was handling this, of course, groundbreaking, quote-unquote, 2-hour documentary that was going to be released as a two-parter that was going to showcase unreleased and never-before seen footage of himself as Meathead and his films like When Harry Met Sally, and much more, and was best described to be Reiner's exclusive project that was set to direct, write, and produce with Netflix, and working with a dedicated team of editors and filmmakers to turn this into a way for him to boost his career in 2025. Now, guys, before I move on about Rob Reiner, he is very much at the top of the list of insufferable actors within the Hollywood bubble, much like Robert De Niro, George Clooney, and even Alec Baldwin, after he actually said that over half the country is uneducated and misinformed. I think it goes to the point where you have people like Reiner, who is really just trying to latch on to his career, whether it's as a director, writer, producer, actor. Altogether, he really wanted this documentary to basically signal to the general public that he can remain very much relevant, that he was going to actually distribute all these revelations about his professional and personal life by Netflix. They wanted to turn this into a major hit. They wanted to make this into a 2-part trend, to make it into a whopping success, and now, what do you know, this $12 million project for him, it was going to pay him $12 million, it is now no longer moving ahead. Now, this is very similar, by the way, to what happened with Ben Stiller and how he was supposed to actually land this stand-up comedy act called Standing Still with Stiller by HBO that got canceled because he wanted to drag politics into it. And also, let's not forget that Ben Stiller's hypocritical comments backfired on him as well, to the point that he got backlash for that, blaming wokeism and then, joining wokeism and then vice versa, flip-flopping day in and day out, right? Now, to top things off, Reiner is now already desperately working with his agent and manager and others within his circle to make a deal with another major studio that will be willing to move ahead with this documentary. However, it was said to be exclusive to Netflix, and Netflix's CEO and the executives are already challenging Rob Reiner's moves to negotiate with another studio and do not want that to happen. This is yet again another example of a Hollywood personality gaining so much backlash to the point that studios are dropping those like Reiner left and right. This 2-part documentary of his life was planned to be released during the holiday season of 2025 and was also going to partner up with Billy Crystal. Now, Billy Crystal, he was supposed to be a major player in this documentary. That is now no longer happening. It is officially canceled by Netflix. It's not moving forward. And look, I think that you're going to see more and more of this. It's becoming a common trend where a lot of these actors, filmmakers, producers, whatever you want to label them, they actually dragged politics into their careers, especially when it came to 2024, and it really just did not work with the public. People are waking up, right? We know that a large portion of these Hollywood producers, for the longest time ever, only viewed people as numbers, right? Only as a way to turn something into a whopping success. And I think at the best example here, you have people like Rob Reiner that's really trying to distribute his overall political opinion into documentaries like this. By the way, he was going to do that. He wanted to drag politics into this documentary as well, which I think would have really backfired deeply on this project by Netflix. In turn, I think that Netflix and its CEO began to realize that, yeah, this might actually turn to a loss of subscriptions at a mass level in 2025, leading into 2026. So I would like to hear what everyone has to say about Rob Reiner. What do you think about his previous work as Meathead in All in the Family, or what he's said in recent weeks and months when it came to his political opinion being forced onto the general public in such a negative way, in such a toxic way, by the way? And I would love to hear also what you all have to say about Rob Reiner losing this deal with Netflix and whether or not you believe it was deserved. I actually do believe it was deserved based on the toxic comments that he spewed for the past several weeks. But overall, if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.